My name is Patrick O'Donovan. I'm a Minister in the Irish Government in the Department of Finance with responsibility for open government, e-government and procurement. I think listening to the conversation, it's important to point out that politicians and members of government, we're citizens as well. So oftentimes while people might find that there's a breakdown in what's perceived to be trust, that's for a multitude of reasons. When a government is formed, whether it's in Ireland or in continental Europe, it's ordinarily because of a coalition coming together. So sometimes what you look for in an election isn't necessarily what you get, because it's negotiated out afterwards. And as well as that, there may be fiscal constraints and a whole pile of other constraints, and we know this better than most people in Ireland as to what we've come through. But that doesn't mean that there's a trust breakdown, and I think there needs to be a bit of realism there as well, that out of touchness is often because members of Parliament are busy and they lose touch with their constituents. That can't happen in Ireland because of our electoral process. But as well as that, another element that was raised a while ago, and it's important to point it out as well, is that in relation to what we want to achieve, we have to be responsible as citizens. And the British representative a while ago, he's quite right, said, because this is our experience in Ireland, is that there's a move back to the mainstream parties now, that we have back into a growing economy. And it's sometimes that when people feel that things are going well, that they're less inclined to get involved. That's actually when you need to get them involved. So we have in Ireland public participation networks at local levels that feed into national policy, and we're also opening up public consultation. We've come through a huge amount of reform, whether it's in lobbying, whether it's in whistleblowers, or whether it's in freedom of information, but it doesn't stop there. And I think, to suggest that it's all negative in the sense that it's a breakdown of trust and the citizen is engaged, there's also a responsibility on the citizen. Because ultimately, the only person who's responsible and who's held to account is the politician. Civic society or civil society isn't elected. It's not accountable in the same sense as Parliament is. So sometimes it might be easier to say, yeah, there's no trust, or there's a breakdown in communication. But as a member of Parliament in a rural constituency in the west of Ireland, I can tell you that being in touch with people in my area means meeting them 7 days a week and being available to them, so that when they call you or when they email you, you get back to them as a member of Parliament. You don't just forget them every 5 years. If you do that in Irish politics, you're not around for very long. So as politicians, I think there's an onus of responsibility on us to actually take responsibility of what it is that people, first of all, are looking for, but then secondly, to communicate to them what's actually realistic over a period of time. It might be aspirational of what you're trying to do, but sometimes it mightn't be feasible and it mightn't be achievable. So it's not all, I think, about citizens' engagement versus politicians. There's a temptation maybe to forget that politicians are citizens as well. We want the best for our communities and our societies and our families as well.